I'm Ryan from ExtremeTerrain.com, and this is my review and installation of the Mopar tubular rear bumper fitting all 2007 and up JKs. Today we're going to talk through the installation of this bumper, which I am going to give a 1 out of 3 wrenches, although it is going to be a little bit more involved than some of the other tubular rear bumpers on the market. Mopar does have you installing this onto the rear cross member instead of onto the rear frame rails, which can be a little bit easier. But even so, no drilling required, so still 1 out of 3 wrenches, and you're gonna have to set aside probably around an hour and a half to get this installed. But we'll talk more about the installation in just a second. This is for those of you who like the look of a tubular bumper on your JK and definitely want to stick with the Mopar brand, because Mopar made your Jeep, they made a lot of parts on the Jeep, and you like to keep everything the same. Mopar branded parts are in general going to be more expensive than a lot of the aftermarket parts just because they are made by Mopar. But if you're willing to pay premium for the branding, this is going to be overall a very well-built bumper. Now there are a lot of tubular bumpers out there on the market. Some have the tubes that run all the way across, others are more of this design where you have a little bit more of a solid center section and tubular corners. This bumper is also going to include your plastic frame covers here, which on some of the other aftermarket bumpers are an add-on piece that you have to purchase separately. So this bumper does have a couple of nice features that I do like, and if you do like that tubular styling, this is going to be a good option. As far as the construction goes, this is of course going to be a round tubular bumper. This does curve around to the sides of the tub a little bit, which is a nice feature that is going to provide a little bit of protection to the corner of your tub. The upper tube is cut a little bit longer than the lower one, just adding a little bit of additional styling. In the center of the bumper here, where you do have a little bit more of a plate steel bumper styling, of course you have a nice deep step, so even if you have a slightly larger than factory spare tire, you're not going to end up with any clearance issues between the tire and the bumper when you open and close the tailgate. As I mentioned before, this does come with these plastic frame covers, which is a nice feature. In my opinion, it makes the back of the Jeep look a lot more finished when you have those frame covers. And while a lot of the aftermarket tubular bumpers will offer them, they're not always included like they are with this piece. As I said before, we are going to stick with a 1 out of 3 wrenches on this install, even though it is going to be more involved than some of the aftermarket bumpers, and about an hour and a half worth of time is going to be necessary. A lot of the aftermarket bumpers will simply have a bracket that sits perpendicular to the bumper itself. It'll slide right inside the frame rails, you'll bolt it on, and you'll be done. Mopar has their mounting a little bit different. The way that you mount this bumper is going to be to the rear cross member, and because you can't get inside of the rear cross member, you end up having to fish some bolts from the back side so that they stick out properly, and again, it is just going to be a little bit more difficult. In order to get this installed, of course, the first step is going to be removing your factory bumper, and you'll do that by removing the 6 bolts that hold it in place and then just pulling it off the Jeep. After that, you'll install the included hardware inside of that rear cross member, fishing the bolts that you need to fish, get everything set up so that you can finally put the bumper onto the Jeep and tighten everything down. You're just going to need your traditional hand tools to get this job done and a little bit of patience, especially if you've never used a wire to fish a bolt through a closed tube before. It can be a little bit frustrating. This bumper comes in at right around $500, and as with most things Mopar, you are going to pay a little bit more of a premium for the Mopar brand. But all in all, I actually don't think that's too bad of a price for this bumper. As I've said before, you are getting these frame covers included. You are going to get a little bit more of a style out of this bumper than with some of the other ones as far as the way that these tubes are cut on the side. And overall, I just think it's a pretty good looking bumper as far as a tubular bumper goes. However, if you don't have $500, but you want the tubular bumper look and you're not interested in the branding being directly from Mopar, then you can go with one of the other aftermarket options and save yourself some money. So if you like the slightly old school look that a tubular bumper gives to your newer JK, and you definitely like that Mopar brand and are willing to pay premium for it, I think this is going to be a nice bumper option. So that's my review of the Mopar tubular rear bumper fitting all 2007 and up JKs that you can find right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.